Panic spreads across crypto like wildfire as Bitcoin plunges nearly 12%, seeing a massive sell-off in the altcoins as well. How much worse is it going to get? What are the causes behind it? Because it's probably something you haven't even considered. Hit the like button and let's get into this video. Now guys, if you're subscribed to this channel, which you absolutely should be, you know I like to dissect exactly what's going on and dispel the myths that are behind things. Now, as we see Bitcoin pump, you can probably be forgiven for going to Google and being like, why is it dumped? Bitcoin plunge spurs liquidation as SpaceX's token sale weighs in. This is a major story saying that basically SpaceX, owned by Elon Musk, has been offloading its crypto and selling crypto, and this is the cause of the dump. Now, whilst it's not great news for crypto in general, they're basically saying that they already sold it. So it's not that they just sold it yesterday and suddenly it dumps. They've already been offloading it, and this has meant nothing really for the crypto price. So if you were to kind of like think that this has a chance of being like the cause, the catalyst, you probably would be wrong. So what else is there out there that could be behind this story? Well, the next story is that China's struggling property giant Evergrande filed for bankruptcy protection in the US. Now, this is a result of a bit of a scam across China. Evergrande were building insane numbers of buildings that people effectively weren't going and living in. And this was an enormous company in China and basically went down the pan. Again, this is not necessarily bullish for the world's economy, but actually this is nothing to do with what has caused this dump towards the downside. So you're like, well, what has caused the dump towards the downside? Now, I'm going to jump back to the chart and show you. Because simply put, guys, I know a lot of people think, oh, it's only the news that moves charts. The news arrives at a time at which a move in the charts happened because it's there to kind of convince you that that news is the impacting factor on this. You know, there are other things that obviously do have an impact. Things like the FTX scandal. And if you go back in time, other things like Brexit and other kind of unexpected massive macro changes. But if you look at a chart, I want you to understand what was basically happening to Bitcoin throughout this period of time from 25th of June all the way up till pretty much yesterday. And you can see that the price movement of Bitcoin was less volatile than assets out there such as gold, which is very unusual, and it shows a bit of indecision in the market. Now, what effectively is controlling the price is actually a few very big holders of crypto right now, because Bitcoin has a market cap that isn't enormous. Okay, it's very big, but it's not enormous and is not beyond the control of certain people and certain organizations out there who can manipulate the price in order to make you, the retail investor, add liquidity, whether that be to push the price down or to push the price up. Now, I want to jump across the Fear and Greed Index on Twitter. Okay, this shows the fear versus the greed, and is ultimately one of the best signals we can use for identifying what is going to happen next. Fear and greed, you can see yesterday and for the last week has been sat at like 50. Okay, literally no change because everyone's just been like half bearish, half bullish, like nothing really going on. Suddenly we go from 50 down to 37. Now we're sat at 37, and if the price continues to creep down, we will get lower. Now remember, I tell you multiple times, as we referred to Warren Buffett, buy fear, sell greed. Why does he say that? Well, fear only occurs in the market when we're getting sell-offs, but we need to understand what that sell-off really is indicating to us that could maybe mean that we're in with an opportunity. Now, as we jump across to the Bitcoin chart, I want you to think about what we can see that's happened here. And over the last few weeks, well, not the last few years, since the start of the year, in January, we saw this rally towards the upside. So from January, we went all the way up from this low here, about 57%. And then we had a correction that ultimately ended in a very quick sell-off, down 22%. Now, this correction or this piece of news was something to do with Binance, I believe, at the time. Okay, so SEC looking into Binance. And then we come all the way up here again, and we get down here, and we had another little sell-off that was, you know, the SEC getting into Cardano and all sorts of other bits and pieces. And that might be wrong, but I remember there was some piece of news around here and some other piece of news around here. And these ultimately shook everyone out the market. But look what happened immediately after. I want you to understand what that news was literally there for. And remember, most of that news came out of either Coinbase or came out of Binance, who are pretty massive exchanges and hold quite a lot of cryptocurrency. They came up with this negative news, caused the market to crash towards the downside. Lo and behold, someone out there buys a ton of cryptocurrency in this zone, and Bitcoin goes from here all the way up to 56%. What then happens? Price then slowly starts to get sold off. Maybe some negative narratives seep into the market. Like, we haven't really hit the halving yet. We haven't got all this going on. The small money kind of talking amongst themselves and nothing really going on right now. They lose interest. As people lose interest, the price starts to creep down because they get bored of Bitcoin. They start to take it out and chase coins with frogs on and everything else. And then they get into an area where we can see previously we had a buy zone. And if you are not subscribed, then you'll not know maybe what a buy zone is. But this is how we identify it, guys. You see big buys, big candles coming out of an area of kind of chop. Chop meaning like left, right, up, down, whatever you want to call it. And then next time we arrive in this zone, we get brought up again because this is the zone that big money showed us that they wanted to buy from before. They get back in the zone and they buy there again. Now, what is very important to us is to identify the next buy zone. Remember, when we get pullbacks, we will find an area that is a buy zone. And this, I think, is one or two of them. We can see that we had a big move coming here from this area around $26,450. And there is another one down there at $24,850. Where are we right now? And what can we see has gone on? Look at this area that we've just dumped back down into. Look at this wick towards the downside showing strong buying pressure. What basically happens in this area is lots of retail investors will have woken up and seen a massive drop towards the downside. They panic, they sell. And they will continue to maybe sell if they think that Bitcoin's going to creep lower and lower. And while those sales are going on, bigger money is accumulating that crypto because they want to ultimately fill up their bags. And if they do it too quickly, the price will come up too quickly. They need to do it slowly while the sell-offs and things happen. And they create panic and fear through news and various other things. And then we start to see buying pressure coming in. Now, this is not guaranteed that this is going to hold as a buy zone. This is why I've drawn this next one on down here. But for me, this is where I look to accumulate because I like to buy into these zones rather than buying all the way at the top after huge spikes towards the upside. Now, you're right, of course, this can go lower. Okay, so this is why you need to be looking at DCAing in, dollar cost averaging in. That's obviously not financial advice. Go away and do your own research. But simply what this means is to basically have a portion of money that I wanted to invest in crypto and maybe put it in portions. So maybe if I've got $100, I can put in $25 or $50 here. If it comes down lower, I can put in another 25. If it comes down lower, another 25. But I actually think for Bitcoin, we need it really to be holding this sort of zone above 25 or above 24,800. If we see a sustained move lower to around 25,000 or lower, then we could well be due for a more significant correction. But at the moment, we still have a higher low. So higher lows, and we have higher highs, indicating we are in still an uptrend. Don't get shaken out, guys, because this is what the plan is. Yes, we could obviously see a more significant correction towards the upside, but for me, I still think we have a sustained bull market, which we are in right now. This quite clearly is an interesting area for us to pay attention to in terms of a buy zone. I do think that Bitcoin will find somewhere that it suddenly rockets out of very quickly. What news catalyst could be out there that's going to tell us that this is why this is moving towards the upside? It's potentially this. Grayscale boosts Bitcoin ETF team as potential ruling in SEC lawsuit nears. This could potentially get announced today. An ETF approval for Grayscale is absolutely enormous. If the green light is on for that, then you'll see tons of others being approved. We're talking BlackRock, we're talking Charles Schwab, basically some of the world's largest financial institutions having their ETF or exchange-traded funds approved, giving the green light for billions of dollars, potentially trillions of dollars to flood into the cryptocurrency markets. That doesn't necessarily fundamentally mean that the price will go up, but it's enough of a narrative that covers the reality of why it actually might go up. So it's going to go up, okay, if this news gets announced, but the news will get announced to cover up why it's gone up. Does that make sense? I'm basically saying when it comes to crypto, most of the news is pretty much non-existent. It doesn't really have much of an impact. It's just used as the narrative to explain to you why the price is going up and down, when really the price is going to go up and down anyway. And if you remove the news, you would still see the same price movements. The news is just the cover story, kind of get you sucked in and believe what's going to go on so that it can be used in the future to manipulate you to do things like buy into crypto or sell out of crypto, whatever it might be. Okay, so that might be really cynical. I'm not a flat earther. I think the world is round. Let me know down below whether you think it is. Always keen to discuss that. If you want a further, more detailed breakdown, then you need to get over to the Inner Circle Discord, which is linked down below in the description, where I'm covering my insights every single day on what I think might be going on what I feel is the most likely scenario. You can also join tons of other crypto enthusiasts who are sharing news and all of their own technical analysis as well every single day on tons of different charts. You can see some guys in here making tons and tons of gains on their trading, and you can get in along with them and trade alongside them. They're putting in their different trade setups and other things. We also are announcing another pre-ICO investment, which will be coming up in the next week or two through our Pool Venture Capital Fund. So you can only access that through the Inner Circle. A really exciting time coming up. You can get a 5-day free trial for just $9.99. Link down below in the description. Guys, hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.